Minister Caroline Downage.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. National Institute for Health Research is supporting the study of Lyme disease by researching markers that would offer a faster and more accurate diagnosis. Meanwhile, NICE have published clinical guidance for the diagnosis and treatment of Lyme disease for healthcare professionals.
Mr Speaker, Lyme disease is often misdiagnosed or diagnosed late, causing widespread suffering such as joint pain, paralysis and brain damage. Will she therefore join me in congratulating the charity Caldwell Lyme Co that has pledged £1 million into research funding? And can I ask the Minister whether her department will commission research for a better test for Lyme disease?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, the honourable gentleman is absolutely right to raise this. We do know that Lyme disease is something that the whole outcome is based upon the early diagnosis and the early treatment. That's why my department commissioned 4 independent, separate, systematic reviews of all the relevant literature on the diagnosis and the treatment and the transition and the prevention of Lyme disease. And these were published in December 2017 and assessed the existing evidence based on Lyme disease for the research community, the research funders and the public. But we welcome all independent researchers that want to do more work on this basis.
Mr Speaker, my constituents have had many challenges around the diagnosis of Lyme disease and have had to go overseas to get tests in order to get a diagnosis. However, the NHS doesn't recognise those tests, so what is the Minister doing about that?
Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, most cases are diagnosed and treated by GPs successfully and they do recover uneventfully, but there are a few cases which, if they're diagnosed late or aren't treated adequately, may develop some really significant complications. That's why the National Institute for Health Research welcomes funding applications for research on Lyme's disease.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Just earlier this month I visited a young lady in my constituency who was living a perfectly good life and then was struck down by Lyme disease. She's not left the house in over 12 months and is in terrible pain all the time. Her blood samples did not, the NHS in this country did not find a diagnosis from her blood sample. It had to be sent to Germany to get the diagnosis. An awful lot more needs to be done to help these people.
Minister.
Mr Speaker, he's absolutely right to raise this. We do need to do more in this space, and that's why we're investing over £1 billion a year in health research through the National Institute of Health Research.
2018 NICE guidelines to clinicians for managing Lyme disease. What evaluation is being put in place to see how effective that is in improving the treatment of this dreadful disease?
Mr.
Mr Speaker, as with all NICE guidelines, they are permanently kept under review, and if the research that we're investing in throws up new light on any issues, will always be taken into consideration.
Justin Matters.
Number 10, please, Mr Speaker.